The glacier had stood for centuries, a wall of ancient ice stretching across the northern valley like a frozen mountain range. The villagers called it the Silent Glacier, because nothing ever moved there. No animals, no birds, even the wind seemed to avoid it. For generations, the people believed the glacier was cursed, but no one knew why, until the night the ice began to breathe. At first the sound was faint, a deep rumble beneath the frozen earth, like distant thunder trapped beneath the mountain. The villagers thought it was an avalanche, but the sound did not stop. It continued through the night, slow, heavy, alive. The next morning the glacier had changed. A massive crack had appeared across its surface, a crack wider than a longship, and from within it came a strange blue glow. The elders of the village gathered near the edge of the ice. One of them whispered a name not spoken for hundreds of years. Hrungvar, the frost giant, a creature from the ancient wars of the gods, a being said to have fought against the storm gods themselves before being buried beneath the glacier. For centuries the ice had been his prison, but now the prison was breaking. The villagers prepared to flee, but one warrior stepped forward instead. His name was Einar Stonebreaker. Einar was not the tallest warrior in the north, but he was the strongest. His arms were thick as oak branches, and his beard was the color of dark iron. Across his back he carried a massive warhammer, a weapon so heavy most warriors could not even lift it. The hammer had a name, Skullbreaker. It was forged by the blacksmiths of the northern mountains using iron taken from a fallen star. They said the hammer carried the power of thunder itself. Einar walked alone toward the glacier. Behind him the villagers watched in silence. The rumbling beneath the ice grew louder with every step. Cracks spread across the frozen surface like veins beneath skin. Then the glacier exploded. A thunderous roar shook the valley. Ice shattered in every direction. From the heart of the glacier something enormous began to rise. First came a massive stone hand bursting through the frozen wall, then another. Each finger was larger than a tree trunk. The ice collapsed around the rising body. A giant emerged from the shattered glacier. Hrungvar, his skin was made of cracked stone and frozen ice. Blue light burned within the cracks across his body like cold fire. His beard hung down his chest like a frozen waterfall. When he stood fully upright, his head nearly touched the mountain cliffs. The giant opened his eyes. They glowed with ancient fury. For a moment the entire valley fell silent. Then the giant spoke. His voice was like boulders grinding together. "Who wakes me from my prison?" Einar stepped forward across the shattered ice. "I did." The giant looked down at the lone warrior. "You are small." Einar tightened his grip on the hammer. "Small things can still break mountains." The giant laughed. The sound shook the valley. Then Hrungvar raised his massive arm and swung it downward like a falling cliff. Einar rolled aside as the giant's fist smashed into the frozen ground. The impact shattered the ice for hundreds of feet. Chunks of glacier rained down the valley. Einar ran forward. With a roar, he swung Skullbreaker into the giant's ankle. The hammer struck with the sound of thunder. Cracks spread across the giant's stone leg. Hrungvar roared in anger. He kicked his leg forward, throwing Einar across the frozen field. The warrior crashed into a wall of ice. Pain shot through his ribs. But he stood again. Because Einar Stonebreaker did not fall easily, the giant stepped forward. Each step shook the earth. Einar ran toward him once more. He dodged another massive strike and climbed onto the giant's leg. The stone skin was rough like a mountain wall. He climbed higher. The giant tried to shake him off, smashing his own chest with massive hands. But Einar held on. When he reached the giant's shoulder, he raised the hammer high above his head. Lightning crackled across its metal surface. Then he brought it down with all his strength. The hammer struck the giant's neck. Thunder exploded across the valley. The stone skin cracked open. Blue light burst from the wound like freezing fire. Hrungvar roared louder than any storm. He grabbed Einar and hurled him across the glacier. The warrior slid across the ice, barely stopping before the edge of a frozen cliff. The giant advanced slowly. Blood of glowing ice poured from his cracked neck. "You fight well," the giant growled. "But this world belonged to my kind before yours." Einar rose slowly. The hammer still hummed with storm energy. "Then take it back." Hrungvar lifted both arms. The ground trembled violently. From the shattered glacier, dozens of massive ice pillars rose from the earth. The giant was summoning the glacier itself. Einar understood something then. He could not defeat the giant by strength alone, but the glacier could. He turned and ran across the cracked ice. Hrungvar followed, each step shaking the valley. Einar stopped at the largest crack in the glacier. Then he raised Skullbreaker and slammed it into the frozen ground. Lightning exploded across the ice. The crack widened instantly. The glacier groaned. Then the entire frozen valley began to collapse. Massive walls of ice broke apart and slid downward. Hrungvar roared in fury as the glacier beneath him gave way. The giant fell into the collapsing abyss of ice. For a moment his enormous hands grasped the edge of the glacier, then the ice broke again, and the giant disappeared beneath thousands of tons of frozen stone. The valley became silent once more. Snow slowly drifted down across the shattered glacier. Einar stood alone at the edge of the frozen abyss. But something strange happened. From beneath the broken glacier, a glowing blue crystal slowly rose from the ice, a shard of the giant's heart. Ancient power pulsed within it. Einar picked it up. The crystal was freezing cold, yet it hummed with enormous strength. Far beyond the mountains, deep beneath another glacier, something ancient stirred. Because Hrungvar had not been the last of the frost giants, he had only been the first to wake, and now the FrozenSaga had entered a new age, an age of giants.